All right, then to begin, Tim Swindle.
Thanks, Walt. And this does feel different for us than it did last year. The Space Institute started up because there were two departments on campus that did fantastic things in space, LPL and Steward. And the leadership and the faculty and those two said, you know, we have to do better to do as well in the future. Well, once it got started, we found out that there's a lot more going on than what we were thinking about at the start. And I think that today will be indicative of that. We showed this, I think, maybe for the first time, other than it showing up at a College of Medicine Phoenix talk at one point, that there are a whole bunch of things going on with space at the U of A. You will hear about a number of these things today. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but it's remarkable how much we have going on, how much more we can do, and the number of connections are already starting to be made. That's one of the things that has been most fun about being director of this institute, is connecting people who didn't even know that they existed. We had two groups doing space medicine research at the College of Medicine Phoenix who didn't know each other, okay? And so a lot of this is about trying to connect what's going on while figuring out how to build the things that we have been doing very well and make them even better. Many of you are aware of the efforts we've been trying to make. They haven't taken fruit yet, but trying to do things to build more opportunities for staff. The facilities are a fantastic example of building more opportunities for us to do things here. And so without further ado, I just want to say thank you to all of you who came, and thank you to all of you who told me about things that I didn't know about, and I'm just excited for the day.
Thanks, Tim. And now we will hear from the program manager, who is the primary asset wrangler of the Institute, Hop Bailey. Stupid wheel.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Hop Bailey. I'm the program manager of the University of Arizona Space Institute, and I'd like to just say a few words about the mechanics of what we do, the process, and what we have to offer. First, proposal support through grant funding, which is internal university money. So it's free of IDC. That's an important consideration. It goes a long ways. We will respond or attempt to respond to PI requests for personnel support in any area, technical, management. We have very limited resources in the Space Institute. We're trying to be very lean so that most of the money is available for grants for proposal development, but we can coordinate coordinate personnel across university units, and that has been very helpful for a number of proposals. And then finally, conduct a pre-submission review at the request of the PI, and we'd like to stay in touch with the proposal process so we can kind of monitor progress against the proposal deadline, against the solicitation requirements, and to encourage the best quality proposal at submission time. The images off to the right of this slide show kind of a collection of some of the grants that we have made for proposal development, starting with innovative optical systems. We've done a number of these, but the one that's depicted, which is a little hard to see, is development by Daniel Apai for a large-scale space optic at severely reduced mass. Another example is the support of the Artemis III geology science team. Jessica Barnes is leading that proposal. So that's not an instrument development, that's not a mission, but it's something that we, the University of Arizona and the participants, both at the university and across the country, would tremendously benefit in the participation in the science team, the formulation of goals for Artemis 3 and their execution. And then in the middle, two full-blown mission proposals, Caesar, which is a comet sample return mission. U of A has been asked to step up to be the deputy PI organization, again under Jessica Barnes. And this is a New Frontiers mission, so it's a big deal, about $1 billion mission for full life cycle costs. And then just off to the right of that, with this fiery image of cross-section of Io, one of the moons of Jupiter, Alfred McEwen is leading as the PI a mission proposal for New Frontiers here at the university to go to Io with an orbital mission. And then just one example of instrument development at the bottom. This is a miniature seismometer, planetary seismometer. Danny Della Justina at LPL is leading this effort. And this is the kind of thing that really lays the foundation for participation in missions. So we really encourage instrument development as a way for U of A to participate and make a contribution to the NASA community. And then after the proposal goes in, upon award, UASI can provide corresponding help during project execution. So again, personnel at PI request, internal U of A review, and formal reviews. And there's a good example of this with the Pioneer class mission, Aspera, PI'd by Carlos Vargas here at the U of A, where Walt is chairing the U of A standing review board that will provide oversight and feedback to the project as it goes forward. Okay, how do we get this thing to, can you twiddle it? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I wanted to give you a sense of the scope of the support that UASI has been able to provide and intends to be able to provide in the future. First, money. We have obligated $2.7 million free of IDC in internal university funds for proposal development and other activities since 2021. So that's a considerable amount of money. That has supported 38 proposals. 26 of those have been submitted, 3 selected. And you know, that sounds like a low success rate, and it is, and that's the way this works. But one of the things you have to remember is that frequently proposals have to be submitted more than once in order to eventually succeed. That's particularly true for missions. I'll give us an example. The OSIRIS-REx mission, which was first proposed as a Discovery class mission, then it was not selected for a phase A, for a concept study. Then it was selected for on the next round for another Discovery class mission, and it was selected for a phase A, but it was not selected for flight. And then it was submitted again as a New Frontiers class mission, selected for a phase A, and was selected for flight. And that's what's going to result in the first historic return of a sample from an asteroid this coming fall back to Earth, and that will propel planetary science research for the next 50 to 100 years, just like the Apollo samples coming back from the moon. At the moment, we have 12 proposals in work that we're supporting, and we also have some other activities that we're supporting. For example, we're standing up, UASI is standing up a small mission operations center to be housed at the ARB to support Pioneer class missions. And we have our first customer, not the Aspera Pioneer class mission, but another one called Pandora, which is PI'd out of Goddard Space Flight Center. So really want to encourage, glad to see the turnout here today and looking forward to hearing your talks, but I really want to encourage people with ideas, potential PIs, participants in those groups to start formulating their ideas and thinking about how we can match those up with solicitations from the various sponsors that we appeal to, commercial and government. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Hop. So I'm going to conclude with a little bit of background of the Institute itself. Some of you, I'm sorry, have probably seen this 2 or 3 times, but for those of you who haven't, to get an understanding of what it is strategically the Arizona Space Institute is here for, we are attempting to build off of a long-term outstanding record of funding in astronomy and space science. We have been leading in this area for several decades, and it is a major driver of our ranking overall in research funding at the University of Arizona. In FY 2020, we had $122 million of investment in that area. We spent some of the last year putting together an economic impact statement for what space exploration does economically in the state of Arizona. And the answer is that it contributes statewide something on the order of $500 million a year, which is the equivalent of what we made as a state when we hosted the Super Bowl. So space is the equivalent of a Super Bowl every year. It is a big thing in the state of Arizona, and the University of Arizona contributes significantly to the state, not only with the research that we're doing, but also adding to the tax base of the state as a whole. In addition, we have a key role in planetary defense. The University of Arizona is the primary investigator institution of the NEO Surveyor mission, which is a telescope that will be going to observe every small body that is a potentially hazardous object above a relatively small size. That is scheduled to launch later in this decade. But that will be supported by the long-standing effort at the University of Arizona to identify objects from ground-based telescopes, including the Catalina Sky Survey and Spacewatch. They have identified the majority of small bodies for a great deal of time. They're losing a little bit of ground to some of the robotic surveys, but they will continue to be very, very important going forward, and they will be partners with NEO Surveyor. Now, the Institute was put together based on a changing landscape. Funding is becoming more difficult to get. Proposals are becoming more complicated. We have a long history of being successful at doing big things, but big things come with their own boom and bust cycle. We hire a whole group of engineers and technicians and operations people for OSIRIS-REx, and then OSIRIS-REx is done, and we can't afford to keep them. So the Institute was put together with the idea that we would be able to create a sustainable space exploration program at the University of Arizona that moves outside the core departments that you would think of, which is the Steward Observatory and the Lunar and Planetary Lab, to include other departments across campus doing different types of research, and also expanding into areas that we don't classically think of as space exploration, like space medicine, space infrastructure, things of that nature. To do that, we have to have a consistent pool of talent, a consistent funding stream, and we need to have a range of projects at various scales in order to have that sustainable infrastructure that will allow us to go for the big projects in addition to other things. The other goal that we had was to expand the pool of people proposing to a new generation of young, diverse principal investigators who could contribute to the University of Arizona Space Exploration Initiative for decades. The Institute was funded first in 2020. Hop, Tim, and I were the first people to occupy the 3 primary positions in the Institute. We are governed by an executive panel that includes representatives from 3 colleges and multiple departments. We, in addition to Hop, Tim, and I, we have a small staff that works with us, and our goal initially was to allocate resources to people who are proposing for new research, which is what Hop was discussing just a minute ago. As he describes, we have given a number of seed grants to a number of PIs, including a very diverse pool. And many of them are young, brand new assistant professors or postdocs in the case of Carlos Vargas. And they range over 4 departments, so we've already expanded the pool. The initial plan was seed funding would be provided for projects with a $10 million return on investment to the university. We have subsequently, due to the strong interest of the faculty, amended that to projects that have a path toward 10 million or more of funding. In particular, this is for things like instrument development. As Hop mentioned, we're building a seismometer. We hope that this instrument, which is being supported by the NASA Matisse program, will lead to a long stream of downstream applications on the moon, on icy moons, small bodies, that will ultimately bring in far more than $10 million to the University of Arizona. Many of our projects are still working toward getting funding, but we have had some significant wins that Hop has already mentioned. The 2 most important ones are Aspera. As Hop said, Aspera is a small sat. This to me is the core of sustainability for us on the mission line side. It is a $20 million small sat mission with a highly focused, innovative instrument that will deliver groundbreaking science, but the opportunities for this kind of funding are more frequent. There are more opportunities for us to get the support, and the return on investment for a project like this, especially if we manage it, is higher. So we're very excited about Aspera, and of course Carlos as well, who was a postdoc when he proposed for this. It's scheduled for a 2024-2025 launch. The other thing that this project has meant to the university is that it started something that we were also very interested in when putting the institute together. We quickly, during the concept study phase of Aspera, realized that there were convergent technological and scientific interests between groups at Stewart Observatory, where Carlos was, and at the Lunar and Planetary Lab. And those 2 groups, one of them is mine, have been working together, and as we speak, the optical testing of the Aspera instrument is being done in my lab, readying it for flight. That kind of collaboration is key because we need to leverage our resources properly so that they go campus-wide as opposed to being siloed and isolated in individual departments. Oops. The second mission is OSIRIS-APEX. This one is the extended mission of OSIRIS-REx. It's going to go to a very famous near-Earth object that is going to pass between the Earth and the Moon, and then OSIRIS-REx is going to catch up to it and to go into orbit. It's a very exciting mission, being led by Danny Dell'Agostina, who is an assistant professor at LPL. So again, a young, diverse PI applicant pool. So as we move forward, we want to continue what we've just started doing, having a much more campus-wide research effort, and this symposium is part of that. We're going to see presentations today in areas outside of classical space exploration as you might think of it. And those are going to provide us with other opportunities for funding and infrastructure that will only enhance the mission of the Institute. We also want to move into areas of research that we don't have a traditional footprint, like earth science. And we want to become involved in areas like engineering and infrastructure. By doing this, we will diversify the pool of places that we can propose and increase our overall number of opportunities and chances of success. In addition, you'll get to see it this afternoon. We've just opened the Applied Research Building. This was added to the Institute last year, which was a surprise. It turns out I think it's a good one. This facility, which when you go see it, is very impressive. Like I said, it opened just a little more than a month ago, and it has an impressive list of facilities, several clean rooms, an anechoic chamber. It will have a vibration environmental testing facility. There is a high bay in there, and also a mission operations center. We also have added another building, the Mission Integration Lab. It's a picture on the right here is, I am assured by Tim, the most flattering picture ever taken of the Mission Integration Building. It is basically a high bay, an isolated high bay designed for balloon experiments. And that is an area where we hope to do more research. Balloons are more flexible. There are more opportunities. Again, the science can be obtained over and over again from different campaigns. And on the left is a picture of the interior of the building. So I'll stop there if anybody has any questions. Yes. I think private funding, there are ways to get it, and I'm aware of some projects at the university that are, I believe, privately funded, though not publicly announced. I'm not entirely sure how the Institute is going to go about securing that kind of funding. It comes down to sort of a lobbying sort of thing, and we have to operate within the infrastructure of the university in that area. But rest assured, when those opportunities come up, we would very much like to do it. One of the things that we could do, which is sort of a semi-private sort of thing, is there are more and more opportunities for launches and more aerospace companies that are proposing to do things where we could detach ourselves. So for instance, we had a meeting a month or two ago with some representatives from Lockheed Martin. They talked about the fact that they are putting together a set of small satellites that people can put instruments on. And there may be opportunities for support. They get to demonstrate their capabilities. We get to demonstrate our instruments. So there are opportunities out there. It'll be interesting to see what different ways we can pursue them, though. Any other questions? All right, if not, then I think we will proceed to our flash talks.